It happens in the middle of the night. You're not thinking about anything in particular, and then suddenly you are 12 years old again, standing in front of a class that is laughing at you, or mispronouncing a word in front of someone you were trying to impress, or waving back at someone who was not actually waving at you. The memory arrives fully formed, sharp, vivid, embarrassing, all over again. Your chest tightens. You might actually wince. And then, if you are like most people, you lie there wondering why your brain chose this exact moment to replay something that happened a decade ago and meant nothing to anyone except you. The answer has nothing to do with your brain malfunctioning. It has everything to do with what embarrassment actually is and why your nervous system was built to hold on to it so tightly. Because embarrassment is not just an emotion. It is a biological alarm system, one of the oldest and most important your species possesses, and understanding what it was designed to protect you from completely changes how you experience it. To get there, you need to understand something about the world your brain was built for. Not the world of individual privacy, anonymous cities, and strangers you will never see again. The world of the band. A small, tight, interdependent group of people, somewhere between 25 and 50 individuals, who lived, hunted, slept, and made every major decision together. In that world, your reputation was not abstract. It was everything. It determined how much food you received when resources were shared. It determined who would help you when you were sick or injured. It determined whether the group would protect you or leave you behind. In a world without institutions, without laws, without any safety net beyond the people immediately around you, what others thought of you was not a social nicety. It was a survival variable. Evolutionary psychologist Mark Leary spent decades studying what he calls sociometer theory. The core idea is this: your brain runs a constant background process, like a social radar, monitoring your standing in the eyes of the people around you. When that standing drops, when you do or say something that causes others to evaluate you negatively, the sociometer fires an alarm. That alarm is what you experience as embarrassment, shame, or social anxiety. It is not there to make you suffer. It is there to make you stop, pay attention, and correct the behavior before the social damage becomes permanent. In the ancestral band, permanent social damage was not a metaphor. If you developed a reputation as unreliable, dishonest, socially clumsy, or simply difficult to be around, the consequences were real and immediate. People stopped sharing food with you. Potential mates avoided you. When a decision had to be made about who got what, you lost. Leary's research showed that the sensitivity of this internal sociometer varies across people and situations, but the system itself appears to be universal. Every human culture that has been studied shows evidence of social monitoring behavior, reputation tracking, and the emotional pain that accompanies social failure. Now here's the piece that explains why the memories stay so long. Your brain does not store all memories with equal weight. It prioritizes information based on one simple criterion. How important was this to your survival? Events that carry strong emotional signals get encoded more deeply, rehearsed more frequently, and retained longer than neutral events. This is why you can remember the exact moment you heard devastating news, but cannot remember what you had for lunch 3 Tuesdays ago. The emotion is not a side effect of the memory. It is the filing system. Neuroscientist James McGaugh spent much of his career studying what he called memory consolidation, the process by which the brain converts short-term experiences into long-term storage. What he found was that emotional arousal at the time of an event dramatically increases the strength of the memory trace laid down afterward. The stronger the emotional response, the stronger the encoding. And the stronger the encoding, the more accessible the memory becomes over time, which means it surfaces more easily, more vividly, and with less prompting than neutral memories do. So the next time a cringe memory surfaces at 2 in the morning, arriving uninvited and sharp as the day it happened, understand what is actually occurring. Consider also what it means that the memories tend to surface at night. When external demands are low, when your attention has nowhere else to anchor, your brain does something researchers call memory consolidation and emotional processing. It revisits the day's experiences, but it also dips into older emotional files, particularly ones that were never fully resolved. Embarrassing memories that still carry charge tend to surface during these quiet periods precisely because they are unfinished business to the social monitoring system. The system keeps flagging them until it receives some kind of signal that the threat has been addressed. In a band, that signal would have come naturally from ongoing social interaction, watching the group move on, seeing that your standing had recovered, receiving reassurance from others. In the modern world, where we often carry embarrassing memories in private, never discussing them, and never receiving external confirmation that the threat has passed, the system keeps returning to the file, checking whether it is safe to close it. This is why talking about an embarrassing memory, actually voicing it to someone who responds with recognition or laughter, so often drains it of its charge. The social monitoring system receives the update it was waiting for. The group has processed this. No permanent damage was done. The file can be marked resolved. The memory does not disappear, but it stops arriving in the middle of the night with the same urgency. Your brain is not punishing you. It is not evidence that you are more neurotic, more self-conscious, or more broken than everyone else. It is running a system that is hundreds of thousands of years old, one that once kept your ancestors socially calibrated and therefore alive, and it is running that system on events that no longer carry the stakes the system was designed for. The embarrassment was real. The alarm was appropriate. The memory is loyal to a version of the world that no longer exists. And the next time it wakes you at midnight, you can acknowledge it for what it is: ancient social software, still doing its job, long after the threat has passed. Embarrassment is a high arousal emotion. It activates the body's stress response, raises heart rate, floods the system with adrenaline, and commands the brain's attention with an urgency that most everyday experiences cannot match. This is the biological equivalent of the brain stamping a memory with the label, "Important, do not discard." The social threat that triggered the embarrassment may have been a minor one. It may have resolved itself within seconds, but the encoding system did not know that, because the encoding system was built for a world where social threats were serious, where a single social failure could have lasting consequences, and where replaying the event and learning from it could genuinely improve your chances of survival. This is also why embarrassing memories feel different from other old memories. When you remember a pleasant event from 10 years ago, it tends to soften over time. The edges blur, the emotional charge fades, and it becomes something you can look at from a comfortable distance. Embarrassing memories often do the opposite. They stay sharp, they stay charged. They can arrive with full physical intensity, the flushing, the cringe, the sharp intake of breath, even when the event itself was trivial and decades old. Your brain is not torturing you. It is doing exactly what it was designed to do, keeping the socially costly event in high-resolution memory, available for review, so that you do not repeat the mistake. Psychologist June Price Tangney, in her extensive research on shame and embarrassment, drew an important distinction between the two emotions that helps explain why embarrassing memories can feel so relentless. Shame, she found, tends to involve a global judgment of the self. When you feel shame, the thought is, "I am bad." Embarrassment, by contrast, is more specific. The thought is, "I did something that others noticed and judged, but I am still fundamentally okay." This specificity is actually what makes embarrassing memories useful as learning tools. They are not attacks on your identity. They are incident reports, stored in vivid detail, so the specific behavior can be analyzed and avoided next time. The problem, of course, is that your brain cannot easily distinguish between a social threat that mattered and one that did not. The same system that would have protected your ancestors from a genuine reputation-destroying incident in their band fires with similar intensity when you accidentally call your teacher mom in front of the whole class. The stakes are vastly different. The emotional response is almost identical, and the memory encoding follows the same rules regardless of whether the social danger was real or trivial. There is another layer to this worth sitting with. The cringe response itself, that full-body physical recoil you feel when an embarrassing memory surfaces, has a purpose too. Psychologists who study what is sometimes called the behavioral shutdown system found that the physical components of embarrassment, the downward gaze, the hunched shoulders, the covering of the face, are not just byproducts of the emotion. They are social signals. In the band, displaying these signals after a social misstep was a way of communicating. I know I made an error. I am not a threat. I am correcting myself. Research by Dasher Keltner at the University of California, Berkeley, found that people who displayed genuine embarrassment cues after a social transgression were consistently rated as more trustworthy and more likable by observers than those who showed no embarrassment at all. The cringe, in other words, is not weakness. It was originally a social repair signal, a way of keeping the group together after a small rupture. This is why replaying an embarrassing memory often comes with the same physical sensations as the original event. Your body is rehearsing the repair signal. Your nervous system is running the full sequence, the error detection, the alarm, the shutdown signal, and the resolution, as if rehearsing a script it might need again. The replay is uncomfortable precisely because it is functional. A comfortable replay would not command attention. It would not drive the lesson home. The discomfort is the mechanism.